Oh, what's up? It's Dominic D'Angelo. It's a Friday. It's Rumor and Innuendo. And I'm of adfreeshows.com, SEscoops.com, and Brass Ring Media. Per usual, though, I am here with Mr. Robert Karplis, WD Creative _ish, former WD writer. And hey, what's your favorite Guster song, Robert? All time.
What a question to ask to start.
I'm going somewhere with this.
Okay. So Long, which
Okay.
we're not in any of the show. That is my favorite song. Why?
Well, one of mine is Amsterdam, and somebody we know is in Amsterdam. That's Scott Chaplin. Boom.
There we go. Wow, you went so far to get to that.
I did, really did.
I'm glad you didn't pull a muscle. I'm taking a nice sip of coffee there. All right, let's say hi to some of the folks joining us here, starting with Johnny Disco. Said it's good to be alive on a Friday on SmackDown. Yeah, it is. It is a Friday. I forgot it was a Friday.
Really?
It's this strange world of, short week because it was Memorial Day. And then I got to go travel on Sunday. So it's a short weekend ahead. I'm going to be out all next week. It's just, this is the world we're living in. Dynamite dropping here with a was up. Willie Thornbrew says, I bet John Cena takes a Crossroads tonight. Yes, he may get hit in the head with a Britney Spears movie DVD. Alt Jake says, oh, hey, we got a countdown today. That's just rude, Alt Jake. Only I get the opportunity to bag on Dom for being the best producer in wrestling. And speaking of shows he produces, Ron Ward says, great episode of Working Stiff last night. Dom, you should have gone with Scott and filmed this for us. Yesterday, myself and Mike Lawrence got together and we did a hell of a Working Stiff episode. We talked about the dark side of the ring, Muhammad Hassan episode, which was a lot of fun because Mike's a comic book guy. We talked the passing of Peter David, who was a great comic book writer, as well as the passing of Rick Derringer.
How about that too? Yeah. Wow.
How about it? And Wrestling Old Head says, happy Friday, Robert and Dom and everyone in the chat. Hey, SmackDown's tonight. What's going on the show? Thank you for doing my job for me, Wrestling Old Head. Hey, Dom.
Yeah.
What's on SmackDown tonight?
Well, SmackDown is hailing from Knoxville, Tennessee.
Home of that, the Wig Sphere.
Yes. Is that where
the Sun Sphere filled with soiled wigs?
Oh my!
It's a very specific Simpsons reference, and this audience is going to appreciate that.
Yes, absolutely. We do have a Money in the Bank women's qualifying match. Nia Jax taking on Naomi, taking on Jade Cargill. What do you think of this one, Robert? Who's going to get qualified for this one?
My money's on the black girl.
Oh, hey, nice.
Let's see. It would stand to reason that the winner of this match will be Naomi.
Oh, okay.
Because you can pair off Nia Jax and
Jade
to do something together, or you can get to a Jade Naomi match, and I don't see them making Nia Jax have to climb a ladder. That does not seem safe.
How much? I could see Jade Cargill kind of be in the Money in the Bank briefcase winner. Could you foresee that?
I can, but the challenge with this match is it gets a little erratic a little quickly, and you have 6 people in there. There's a lot of moving parts. There's flying around ladders. There's chairs. There's a number of different spots that people need to work out. Not Jade's forte.
No.
So you kind of want someone who's a bit of a ring general. That's why I think Naomi would do really well in the Money in the Bank match. And it also opens up the opportunity for she's in it. She's climbing at one point. Oh my God, here comes Jade, and Jade takes her out.
It's true, dude. Very true. Is this an engaging enough feud still to continue, Naomi versus Jade? Or do you want to see something different for both of these gals?
I struggle with saying continues to be engaging, but that's just me. It's kind of it's a storyline that got derailed because of Bianca Belair's finger injury.
Yeah, yeah.
So they do have to try to keep it going for them to have something going on until Bianca is back and we get some kind of a payoff. It felt like the payoff was going to be a Bianca heel turn, but
Mhm.
now we're not entirely certain of where this is going.
Yeah, hey, we might not be certain where this might be going because we got a men's Money in the Bank qualifying match. It's Carmelo Hayes, it's Jacob Fatu, and it's Andrade. Who's your best bet for this one? Could you see Carmelo take it, or perhaps the Wild Samoan himself, or the Samoan Werewolf himself, Jacob Fatu, or Andrade?
Uh, I would give this to Andrade just for the sake of I think he needs something to do.
Interesting. Okay.
I think that since of the AEW folks who have returned, Andrade has sort of been the most marginalized of the trio, and I think him finding paths to have continued success is interesting.
Hmm.
Jacob Fatu would obviously be the flashiest name to be in the Money in the Bank match itself, but then it's him and Solo both in there at the same time.
Fair point. Hmm.
Whereas you could give Fatu a title match potentially on the pay per view, potentially someplace else. Defending his championship.
Could this though be an opportunity to kind of showcase Carmelo Hayes in almost like a Royal Rumble style kind of role where this is like, oh, remember Carmelo Hayes in this Money in the Bank match? There's an opportunity for that, I think, too.
Carmelo's been on a nice roll of late. Winning the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. This team with the Miz, the matches he's been putting on of late with Malik with Aleister Black.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of look, I think this match is just going to be a hell of a fun match. I think what the three of these guys are going to be able to do is going to be something special. And we've kind of established that the Jacob Fatu is a real once in a generation kind of talent.
Absolutely. And he's not somebody that you got to create movement for, but you got Carmelo Hayes and you got Andrade. They're going to create movement for him. So it's going to be a fun one, I think. Speaking of Bianca Belair, she's returning tonight, Robert. So maybe that we'll get a little bit more ripple in this storyline.
Yeah, I mean, she may be returning. I don't think that she's fully healed up. They did a nice video package last week of the idea that she's overcome a lot and she's just gonna keep overcoming and keep pushing forward. But I know that there's this sort of Charlotte Alexa Bliss storyline that they're letting foster and develop. I mean, something that happened last Friday on SmackDown that we didn't get a chance to talk about was the return of the Wyatt Six.
It's very true. Yep. Mm-hmm.
What an impact that made.
Would you incorporate Alexa Bliss into that at all?
Into the Wyatt Six?
Yeah.
I think she wants to, and I think that's kind of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not super bullish on the Wyatt Six. I think that outside of the cool return entrance that they did, the matches have not been particularly great. The selection of who that talent is are guys who are not terribly interesting when they're wrestling, and them not being on TV for the last few weeks, months, whatever it's been, I haven't felt that loss. I haven't felt like, my goodness, this could really use Eric Rowan.
Well, I think how they debuted obviously felt like such a big deal. And it really felt like, oh man, this could change the whole landscape of what WWE's storytelling is going on. And, but we discussed this early on, and you mentioned it in particular is, how are these talents particularly going to build themselves up if they're not well known for being good in the ring, great promos, certain aspects like that? There was a lot of factors that came into play. And sure enough, that did come into play. It seemed like, they'd faded them out and they've been gone for months, and here they're back. So it doesn't pack as much as a punch, I would feel. And I don't think it would benefit Alexa Bliss nor the Wyatt Six to incorporate her into that group either. So I don't know. We'll have to
No, I think it would wind up pulling her down because I think she's got a lot of unique momentum. But it is strange if she's coming out there with Lily and there's sort of that that Bray Wyattness to her, and then you've got the Wyatt Six family going on there, and it's one of those things where you want it to succeed. I think there's an emotional resonance to it, but I just don't see a path forward with it, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah. Plus, you'll overshadow Nikki Cross too, I think, if you're trying to incorporate Alexa in there as well.
But look, but a nice addition to this tag team world that they've got going. The SmackDown tag division is really built up beautifully.
mhm.
The DIY and Motor City Machine Guns and Pretty Deadly, and obviously the Street Profits and Fraxium, and now the Wyatt Six, and then some iteration of Solo's Bloodline group, whatever ultimately winds up happening with Legado del Fantasma. Like, a lot of interesting options and directions and choices. And speaking of choices,
Oh,
speaking of finding the right fit,
ooh,
we're going to talk to y'all about the perfect gene.
yes.
And you're trying to build the perfect tag division. You're going to have guys of all shapes and sizes. And we know when it comes to buying jeans, you all are guys of different shapes and sizes. And one of the biggest challenges can be finding that perfect pair of jeans that's going to fit your body and make you look great. Look no further than the perfect jean. It comes in 6 different fits, 13 washes, and waist sizes up to 50 inches and lengths up to 36. Gives you over 5,000 combinations to find your perfect fit. There are over 30,000 5-star reviews, none of them, thankfully, from Dave Meltzer, so you know you can trust them. The truth is clear. These jeans get it right, and for a limited time, our listeners get 15% off their first order plus free shipping. Theperfectgene.nyc, or just Google The Perfect Gene and use code RUMOR15 for 15% off. I've said everything I need to say in there. I'm not using the profanity at the end of it.
Right.
I'll give the call to action one more time just to make sure. It's a Friday, guys. This is where we're at. As a reminder, again, you get 15% off your first order, plus free shipping, free returns, and free exchanges when you use code RUMOR15 at checkout. They want me to curse. I'm not going to curse. It already happened once this week, Dom, where I used a bad word.
A
But
naughty
we're not
word.
going to do that again. Yeah, I felt ashamed, but you won't feel ashamed getting these jeans, the perfect gene at NYC.
Yeah, you'll feel good about that for sure. Hey, we got to feel good about John Cena and Cody Rhodes set to appear on SmackDown tonight as well, Robert. Do we?
It's giving this somewhat meaningless tag match. And I say that because we just saw the Saturday Night's main event tag match with CM Punk and Sami Zayn taking on Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker. And it's like wins and losses in a match where there's no stipulations don't really matter. You could pin Logan Paul, the world's gonna keep moving. The idea of Jey Uso is just sort of an extra person in this feels a little odd. And I don't think that we're getting to John Cena and Cody Rhodes for quite some time.
Right. Yeah, it's got to be a while, I would think, so it does feel a little kind of rushed, I guess, in certain ways, or shoehorned.
It is a little rushed. E asks an interesting question here. Says, seen Dom posted the interview with Lyra's fiance. Did you ask him for any tips?
Tips in what?
Were you interviewing Lyra Valkyria's fiance?
Yeah, LJ Cleary. I happened to wrestle in Cleveland this past weekend, and we ran into each other, but we were planning to interview. I was planning to set up an interview with him anyways, and sure enough, serendipitously, we ran into each other. So I interviewed him on Tuesday, and the interview just posted. So it's up.
I mean, the only question I would have asked would have been, you?
Look, his resume is very impressive over across the seas. Progress, and then he wrestled for Pro Wrestling Noah.
Wait, hold on. What kind of Tony Khan logic is this? This guy landed Lyra Valkyria because of his win-loss record in the UK indie scene.
I'm not saying that. But if you've seen studio photos of him, he looks completely different than what you saw in Backlash. And we actually talk about that in the interview. We talk about the whole aspect of that all.
The fact that he looks like Kyle Mooney from Saturday Night Live.
Wait, who is Kyle Mooney? Is he a new cast member?
No, he was on for a couple of years. By the way, Handsome Grim here says, I have passed my board exam.
Oh, wow.
Congratulations to Handsome Grim on that. I'm sure it was from listening to this show. I'm sure you got a lot of tips on how to do that. But the big exam of my life that I passed was the bar exam to be an attorney. And speaking of legal, there's been a legal news story that's been on here for the past few days that we have not gotten a chance to talk about.
That's right,
Yeah.
Robert. That's right. And it involves John Laurinaitis, one dynamic dude, if you will. People power, but not so powerful anymore. Because according to the attorneys of Janelle Grant, this is the following quote. Plaintiff Janelle Grant hereby stipulates with defendant John Laurinaitis that the above entitled action is voluntarily dismissed with prejudice against defendant John Laurinaitis. John Laurinaitis has agreed to cooperate and provide evidence in Janelle Grant's lawsuit against Vince McMahon and WWE. His agreement to a confidential settlement is pivotal next step toward holding McMahon and WWE accountable and bringing justice to Miss Grant after years of sexual abuse and trafficking. Mr. Laurinaitis looks forward to moving on with his life. We cannot provide any additional details at this time. Robert, what do you think of this? This seems like an episode of The Wire or Sons of Anarchy, something like that when it comes to organized crime. I don't know.
Sons of Anarchy. What do you?
Because there was the Rico case. Rico case in that.
Look, the fact of the matter is that Vince McMahon's assertion against Janelle Grant is that they had a consensual relationship, and that any of the allegations that she has made are fraudulent because this was two people in love, and John Laurinaitis corroborated that by saying this was a consensual relationship between the two of them. So for him to be dropped from this lawsuit and for him to no longer be liable in civil in a civil suit, I know that the federal charges were already dropped. He would need to do something more than, oh, I changed my mind. Like you need some sort of hard evidence. There needs to be an email. There needs to be a text message. There needs to be a letter where Vince is explicitly telling him, I need you to lie. And I need you to say that this was a consensual relationship when this is not. Short of that, I don't know what this really gets other than another round of press. You're going to get another press release, another statement. But Laurinaitis has already said, hey, this was a consensual relationship between these two people. So now it's well, were you lying then or were you lying now? Are you lying now to save yourself because you don't want to be on the hook? Or were you lying then out of some sort of blind trust for Vince, in which case we can't trust anything you say anyway?
Right. Well, Jessica Rosenberg, who is the attorney for Vince McMahon, actually had a comment about this about a week ago or so. It says, as expected, the proposed amended complaint is nothing more than the latest publicity stunt in an ongoing smear campaign. It is filled with desperate falsehoods from the team that continues to disregard the law and the truth. So there was a response to that, Robert.
Yeah, that's the proper response essentially for Vince's attorney is you completely discredit the individual who's supposedly now the smoking gun and this sudden pivot and move, and then you lean further on. He has a lot to gain by saying whatever it takes to be dropped from this lawsuit.
So you do think it's just mostly just straight up kind of PR buzz? Hey, we're going to get more.
Well, I think we don't. My point is we don't necessarily know what Laurinaitis is ultimately providing. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying your first line of defense as Vince's attorney is discrediting that there's any smoking gun at all, and that this person is simply out to try to just save his own hide. Therefore, you can't trust anything he's going to say.
Okay, yeah, because my question as like a novice to all this when it comes to legal matters would be like, is Laurinaitis like, does this kind of come into play of his character? Oh, he's willing to flip already, even though he said something else. And so it's like,
well, yeah, but it's part of it. It's flip. Clearly he's motivated for a number of reasons to say something to get his name dropped from the lawsuit. So if you're backed into a corner and you're desperate, you're going to say anything. It's kind of the reason why they've said, torture doesn't work. If you're being waterboarded and tortured, you'll say whatever it takes to stop them from doing that. So in Laurinaitis' case, he's facing down the barrel of a very large financial penalty, not to mention the ongoing costs of this lawsuit to him. Constant legal fees are probably bleeding him dry, and it's not like Johnny Ace has a secondary income stream coming in. This is not a guy who people are lining up to go meet at conventions where he's making money. Can you imagine a John Laurinaitis cameo video?
Oh my gosh! Hey,
happy Father's Day. I know animal.
Or like, imagine him at a meet and greet with a skateboard. And
By the way, I will say, having had the pleasure of working with John Laurinaitis, he's so much worse than the bad stories of him being incompetent and terrible. Just an absolute, real, not good guy.
not good guy.
How's that?
How tiresome was the people power angle to you back in the
Oh,
day?
that angle was insufferable. That was one of those things where Vince will sometimes confuse good heat with bad heat.
Yeah.
The idea of, well, everyone in the office finds Laurinaitis annoying. Everybody in the office finds Laurinaitis incompetent. Everybody in the office hates the sound of his voice and thinks that he sounds like a feckless kiss ass. Let's put that on TV. And then when the crowd boos, he's like, oh, they're booing because they love the character and they want to be engaged and watch him. But like, no, we don't like you. And then the fact that he kept getting injected into storylines involving Daniel Bryan and CM Punk, it's taking something you want and then absolutely destroying it.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, it was rough. I think the only thing more rough than that was the authority angle. And that's not saying a whole lot.
Well, that was just direct. Some of these ideas and these storylines were directionless. I think we're kind of in a better place now for it. And I'm excited to see where WWE is going to go with SmackDown tonight, with Raw on Monday, as we move towards Money in the Bank. As I said, I personally will not be here next week for Rumor and Innuendo. Unfortunately, I'll be traveling. Dom has you in his expert hands. I know that he's working on some great guest hosts who are going to be filling in as he rubs his hands together menacingly. So you can check the show out every Monday through Friday at noon Eastern on a plethora of platforms, Dom, including WW Creative _ish X account, the at SE Scoops X account. Mike Shellick actually texted me yesterday, so shout out to Mr. Mike Shellick, at Dominic D'Angelo, and on YouTube on Rumor and Innuendo and ad-free shows. Even if we're not necessarily invited to StarCast, we're still part of the ad-free shows family. We love you, Conrad. You're a big ball of sunshine. So on behalf of the single-handed best producer in all of wrestling podcasts, even though he can't wear some damn sleeves, Dominic D'Angelo, I'm Robert Karpolis. Best of luck in your future endeavors.
Say, what did this end stream button do? Let's try it out.